The first round of election results are in. The ballot deadline was just over an hour ago. King 5 is following dozens of races all across the state, including several open U.S. House seats. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jessica Janner Castro.
I'm Steve Solis. This November, voters will decide who Washington's next governor will be after Jay Inslee announced he would not be seeking re-election. Here's where things stand right now. You can see Democrat Bob Ferguson and Republican Dave Reichert currently have the lead over more than 24 other candidates vying for that seat. Remember, the top two candidates in every race will move on to November.
We have team coverage on this race tonight. Before we get to King 5's Natalie Swaby, who's following the Democrats tonight, we'll get to Drew Mickelson covering the Republicans. Drew.
Jessica and Steve, Dave Reichert told his fired up supporters tonight that, quote, "This is the beginning of change in Washington state." The former congressman and King County sheriff says he is confident he will advance to the general election in November based on these initial results. He says all along he felt he was going to face Attorney General Bob Ferguson. I asked him, though, tonight if we should expect any changes in the campaign heading into November.
We've been focused on Bob Ferguson from the beginning anyway, so the messaging will continue to be the same.
Part of that messaging will be public safety and law enforcement support. Dave Reichert says the police in this state just don't like Bob Ferguson, and he has not been very supportive of them. So you can expect to hear a lot more of that as we head into the campaign in the fall. Bob Ferguson ended his comments today at the podium saying, quote, "We are going to get this done." For the other side of the debate tonight, we're going to go now to my colleague Natalie Swaby at Bob Ferguson's campaign headquarters for tonight.
Yes, and Ferguson is still here right now meeting with supporters. I'll step out of the way so you can see he just moments ago thanked this crowd and said that this was a grassroots campaign fueled by people power and donations from across the state. He did say tonight that we celebrate tonight, but tomorrow it is right back to work. He did talk to the crowd about the undecided voters in Washington. I was able to ask him a short time ago about the message he wants to get across to anyone undecided. Just listen to what he had to say.
Well, the choice is clear. Dave Reichert wants to take us backwards on essential freedoms. He wants to take away your reproductive freedom. He's opposed to your reproductive freedom. He doesn't believe you should marry the person you love. He denies humans contribute to climate change. On issue after issue after issue, he's on the wrong side of where the majority of Washingtonians are. I think that message is resonating as people hear about the real Dave Reichert.
And tonight, Ferguson did say that he's going to continue to need supporters to go out there and to rally for him as he gets ready for November. He has been able to raise nearly $9 million. He has received some top endorsements from Democrats, including Governor Inslee. And again, he said the work really is going to keep going strong tomorrow. Send it back to you.
Natalie Swaby reporting live for us. Our thanks to you, Andrew Mickelson. Let's bring in King 5's Erica Zucco now in studio using our exclusive Magis technology. And Erica, you have a county-by-county breakdown of the governor's race.
Right, Jessica. In fact, you gave us those big totals, but I want to show you a couple of interesting things that we can see on the map here. First, if you take a look at King County, you can see what the margin looks like right there. About 60% going to Ferguson and 20% to Reichert at this point. Again, with the caveat that we have a certain number of votes in, and this is the primary. But take a look at Pierce County just below. You can see that margin does get a bit smaller. Ferguson with 40% of the vote, 38% to Reichert. So that's something that we, of course, are going to be watching. You go back to the full totals here, and quickly, I just want to show you two other races that are pretty interesting here. The results that a lot of people are watching. McEwen coming in with Randall so far as the top two in CD6. And then taking a look over at CD3, which a lot of people have been watching. At this point, we have Glusenkamp, Perez, and Kent, both the top two. 46.9% to 38.4%. And the reason a lot of people are watching this is because if we go back to our 2022 results, they had a matchup then. At that point, she had flipped the seat blue. A lot of people going to be watching when we have the election in November to see what happens there. Back to you.
Thank you. We want to transition now to the U.S. Senate. 10 people are challenging incumbent and longtime Democratic Senator Maria Cantwell for one of Washington's 2 Senate seats. Cantwell has held this position since the year 2000, and if reelected, this would be her 5th term. One of the candidates she is facing is Republican Raul Garcia, an emergency room doctor from Yakima. Garcia was originally running for governor, but dropped out of that race to challenge Cantwell. Here's where that race stands right now. Maria Cantwell has 58% of the vote in tonight, and Raul Garcia has 21%. 9 other candidates are in that race, but remember, the top 2 candidates with the most votes move on to the general election in November.
Joining us now, our political analyst, former Washington Attorney General Rob McKenna and former 2-term Governor Gary Locke. Thank you both for being here with us tonight. Gary, I want to start with you and ask a little bit about the governor's race to begin with. What do you think of the results tonight? And, you know, we expected Ferguson and Reichert to be the ones to advance, and that's what we're seeing play out.
Yeah, we're seeing that. All the polling indicated that those were going to be the top 2. And the issues have already started to be defined. Law and order and public safety by former Congressman Reichert, and women's right to choose, and really standing up to the federal government under President Trump. You have that mantra being held by or indicated or spoken by Bob Ferguson. So not surprising, but it's not that many people voted in the primary, and it's going to come down to the general election and the moderates and the independents, because Democrats will always vote for the Democratic candidate, Republicans will vote for the Republican candidate, but you got the undeclared, the independent moderates in the middle, and they always decide the election.
Rob, let me ask you about this race as well, because we heard from both of these candidates tonight. They both had something to say about the race moving forward. Anything surprise you about what they said?
Not really. I think they're both staying on message, which is what they should be doing right now. And they're giving us a little bit of a preview of the general election, which will sound a lot like what we're hearing tonight.
I'll open this up to both of you. We've seen a lot of incumbents that are doing very well tonight. We saw Cantwell's returns come in, and it looks like she'll be poised to advance. Anything surprising in those races? Anything that's standing out to you tonight with that?
No, Maria Cantwell is a well-known senator, travels the state extensively, has an incredible record providing and supporting issues of concern to the Pacific Northwest, Alaska. She heads up a very powerful committee in the Senate, and so not surprising at all.
You know, in the 2nd congressional district, Rick Larson's only a little over 50%. Now that's with only about half the vote in. That's a bit surprising for someone who's been in Congress as long as he has. In the 6th district, State Senator Emily Randall is leading Hillary Franz, the lands commissioner, for that open seat. So that's interesting. We saw that coming over the last couple of weeks, but if you'd asked me at the beginning of the campaign season, I wouldn't have predicted that outcome. But it looks like it'll be Emily Randall facing Drew McEwen in the general, the Republican Drew McEwen.
I was going to ask you about that, because that's a bit of a surprising result tonight. I think a lot of people do know Hillary Franz's names, considering she has been in state politics.
It's true, but Gary had a really good analysis earlier of why Senator Randall is leading in all probability, if you want to share that.
Many of her voters from her legislative district are within this congressional district. So the voters, many of the voters in this congressional district know her well. Whereas people may have heard of Hillary Franz, but they don't really haven't followed her track record, and lands commissioner really doesn't have that much bearing and impact on the day-to-day activities of the people in this district.
Right. Randall, essentially the hometown person.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Now, one of the things we talked about tonight, low voter turnout.
Right.
Does this tell us anything about what we can expect in November, or at this point are people just kind of tired of the political season?
No, primaries are always kind of sleepers, and people get really focused and jazzed up in the November election, especially with this election that we have with former President Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris, and an exciting Vice President candidate in Governor Walz.
Yeah, we expect the turnout to be very different in November.
Quite, yes. It'll be a different election for sure.